Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Order of Battle World War II, formerly Order of Battle Pacific. Now, I recently did a new video on a DLC which just came out for Order of Battle, which frankly seems like it has a new DLC coming out every other day, and that DLC was Panzerkrieg, which is a pack of scenarios, a campaign pack, that takes you as Germany to the Eastern Front after the tide of war begins to turn against the Germans and puts you in the shoes of the Germans for the great battles of 1942 and 1943, starting with the Rezov Offensive, and I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation, where the Soviets are launching a counterattack against a German salient following the failed drive on Moscow, all the way through to things like Stalingrad and eventually Kursk. Well, I got a lot of feedback from that, actually got a pretty decent number of views as well, and a lot of people were like, hey, you should really do a series on this. But what I thought I would do, and what this is the first part of a new series, is Panzerkrieg does the same thing that Morning Sun does, a previous DLC. In Morning Sun, you played as the Japanese and you fought in China during the early years of the Second World War in Asia. And at the end of all of that, you could carry your force that you've built up in fighting in China, and you could carry it over to the main game, Rising Sun, playing as the Japanese through the original Order of Battle Pacific campaigns in the Pacific as the Japanese. Well, I thought, why not do the same thing for Panzerkrieg? Panzerkrieg's an interesting expansion, it's a DLC, it's focused on the later part of the Eastern Front, or at least the middle part of the Eastern Front, and I thought, why not start a series with Blitzkrieg? Blitzkrieg came out, I don't know exactly how long ago, 6 months, a year ago or so. I covered it on the channel, actually, I believe. Or maybe that was Kriegsmarine. I think that was Kriegsmarine. But Blitzkrieg came out. It's a DLC that looks at World War II in Europe, puts you in the shoes of the Germans, and has you fight the early campaigns. So 1939, for example, you're fighting in Poland. I believe it takes you to France. I believe it takes you to the beginning phases of World War II in Russia, the initial invasions of Russia, and ends just before Panzerkrieg. But what the game lets you do is it lets you take the force that you've built up and gained experience with in Blitzkrieg and carry it over to the Panzerkrieg expansion. So this video is going to be part one of a series that looks at the game Order of Battle World War II and the DLC packs of both Blitzkrieg and Panzerkrieg, or at least that's my intent. I actually live streamed this. I don't know if you'll be listening to this the day after, but I live streamed this a couple of days ago, or maybe last night, and it didn't go well. I won the first battle in the campaign, lost the second, lost the campaign right away because we couldn't even take Warsaw as the Germans. But I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to try it offline, and we'll see how we play it out. So we're going to start this new series. This is part one of a Let's Play series. I guess we could call it Blitzkrieg / Panzerkrieg, because the idea would be to carry it from one DLC pack over to the other. I mentioned this in my impressions video, but I think it's kind of neat how you've got sort of the bright, shiny new German logo here for Blitzkrieg for the early war, and it starts to fade for Panzerkrieg. I kind of wonder if Panzerkrieg is going to lead into one more campaign, which will be the Eastern Front, or maybe the Eastern and Western Front as the Allies counterattack. That would be the natural progression in Europe. I don't know if they're planning on doing that, but that would be logical. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. On 1 September 1939, under the pretext of reclaiming the city of Danzig, German armed forces invaded Poland. Honoring their diplomatic treaties and driven by the desire to maintain the balance of power in Europe, France and Great Britain swiftly declare war on Germany. This chain of events sets in motion the greatest war the world has ever seen, the Second World War. War in Europe. Summer 1939. After a series of diplomatic coups in neighboring countries, Germany has expanded its territory and influence in Europe. Now determined to rescind further territorial changes that took place after the Great War, the German army sets out to invade Poland. The Kriegsmarine has deployed a unit of 20mm flak guns for port defense duties. It has been integrated into our core force. Alright, you can see here this is the initial invasion of Poland. You can see the scenario is northern Poland, September 1939. German forces from East Prussia have crossed the Polish border and are heading south toward Warsaw. A strong defensive position around the town of Milwala, however, has halted their advance. So that's the scenario. You can see German forces are advancing from the west toward the sort of eastern German border, driving east into Poland from the west. And they've got the Eastern Prussia segment of Germany, which is sort of this own little island of Germany, driving south toward Poland, toward Warsaw. So you've got a double envelopment, or at least a frontal attack and a flanking attack on the city of Warsaw. So let's go ahead and move forward. Mission briefing awaits. In concert with the invasion in western Poland, we will form the northern drive on the Polish capital city. As a result of the peace treaty signed after the Great War, the German border of East Prussia lies only some 120 kilometers north of Warsaw. The Polish Modlin army has dug in around the town of Milwa, protected by a line of trenches and concrete bunkers. Manned by determined opponents, this position has managed to repel our initial attack waves. As such, our current objectives is to break through these enemy forces and continue the advance into northern Poland. Beyond the front lines, little resistance is expected, as the Poles will certainly retreat to Warsaw. Following the reports of stubborn enemy resistance and significant casualties suffered by our vanguard units, OKW has dispatched additional reserves. These troops and equipment will be available for deployment soon. Okay, there you go. Primary objectives are to capture Milwa and capture Chechenau. Secondary objectives: destroy a bunker in 3 turns, take Przemysl airfield in 20 turns, and destroy 20 enemy ground units. You can see here we only have 2 forces to deploy. There are some initial forces that we get to bring forward with us. We have some engineers, we've got an armored unit, the PZKW-2, and the German infantry 1939, 2 of those. We've also got a Bf-109D fighter aircraft up here. On the eastern side of this map, we have some infantry, 1939 infantry, and we have some artillery, some 75mm artillery as well. Now, we've got some money, and we've got some ability to have more troops. So we have 4 air points, which means we can deploy 4 command points for air units. That's this little aircraft down here in the number 4. And we have 10 army command points, which basically represents like the weight of the total amount of forces you bring to bear. So for example, we go into infantry here, we see this little number 3. That means it takes 3 command points to buy 1 1939 infantry. If we want the infantry to have German trucks so they can move faster, it takes 4. Same for these armored personnel carriers. Meanwhile, heavy infantry have a base of 4 with an increase to 5 if we add trucks to them. These tanks you can see here have between 6 and 5. Our fighter aircraft have the aircraft symbols, so that goes against the aircraft command points. And it looks like our fighters and our tactical bombers all have a weight of 3. Strategic bombers all also have a weight of 3. So I've already got 1 fighter aircraft. I'm actually going to go ahead and purchase a Ju-87B Stuka dive bomber, and we're going to use that to, I guess, bomb enemy troops. We've got 1 more command point available for our air units, but so obviously we can't purchase another one because that just took 3 command points. Meanwhile, we have some infantry up here, and we've got some armor up here that we can use to slowly, hopefully, reduce the enemy positions to our front. I'm going to go ahead and deploy this armor over here. That leaves me with 5 ground units. I'm actually not going to deploy the flak gun because, frankly, it's not going to do much good in this particular scenario. I have $120 or coins or whatever this trait, or I don't even know what to call it, whatever this currency is worth. And I have 5 more command points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to purchase a 75mm flak gun, or sorry, not flak, 75mm artillery piece, and I'm going to give it some transport. Actually, no, maybe we don't do that. Do we do transport? Yeah, I guess we will. All right, so we're going to purchase some artillery here, and that's going to more or less max us out. We could deploy our flak gun, but I'll just leave it as is. I'd like to get more troops on this western front. I had toyed with the idea, and actually in my last video, I did launch a offensive from the east down this roadway toward the airfield, but they got obliterated by resistance. I just don't think it's worth it unless I commit way more forces to this flanking attack. I just don't think it's worth it. I am going to use the artillery and the infantry, hopefully to reduce the town of Cherezl, and then maybe if I have sufficient money and sufficient command points that become available later in the battle, I may reinforce here and drive south, but we'll see how it all plays out. Meanwhile, that kind of does it for the deployment phase, so we'll go ahead and end that turn, and you can see here, because I guess we're the attacker, we get to go first. So there's a bunker here, and I'm going to drive basically all my troops up to the edge of this river because all the bridges across the river have been destroyed. We can't just move across. We'll kind of do this, and then next turn we'll move our troops across the river, hopefully to swarm some of these enemy positions. Meanwhile, we'll use our artillery to bombard this fort, you will, if hopefully starting to soften it up. And our tactical bombers can't reach it, so we'll just fly them kind of nearby so they're not too far away, so they can definitely help out tomorrow, and we'll leave that as is. Meanwhile, on the eastern front, we know that not eastern, but the eastern flank, we know the Polish have some infantry here. We're going to go ahead and move our artillery forward, bombard these guys, and we're not going to attack because it looks like we'll lose too many casualties, but at least our artillery will be here, hopefully able to be in support, and maybe the Polish will attack us. We can much more easily defend ourselves against these guys, I think, than we can attack them. But I think that about does it for this turn. Other than attacking, there's nothing else we can do, so you can see here it's a 25-turn battle. We're hoping to win by 20 turns so we can take that airfield and get that objective here. But we need to destroy an enemy bunker within 3 turns. Okay. Moving my troops across the river slowly. We're going to move our infantry up here. I'm not going to try and reduce this bunker. I'm going to go for the concrete one. Move him in. And I think we'll wait to move our engineers in. We're going to try and reduce this bunker here pretty much entirely next turn. So we'll leave them in place. I don't want to get them too far forward here. We'll go ahead and use our artillery. We'll move this artillery actually in 1 more hex. Go ahead and continue to bombard the Polish troops in this town. And we'll wait 1 more turn before we attack with our infantry. It seems like our odds are getting a little bit better in an attack there. So turn 2, not much happened. Enemy Polish artillery, meanwhile, started bombarding our tanks. You can see we got additional troops and equipment arriving. I don't think they actually arrived. There's no troops that arrived, but our command points went up, so we can recruit new troops. And we have $140 to do it with. We can also recruit new aircraft, so that's worth calling out. Artillery's bombarding these guys, weakening them slowly. I'm not trying to make a blitzkrieg push on the eastern flank, so we'll leave that as is for now. Okay, artillery's bombarding. Move our Stuka in here. Drop bombs on the enemy bunker. You can see it's reduced to 6 strength. Move our infantry forward. To attack. These infantry forward here to attack. And the bunker is almost dead. Yeah. So that was a good initial attack for us. We'll wait on the reinforcements, I think, 1 or 2 more turns. I just want to see how things play out and where I need to spend that money. Because last time I really got in a fatal funnel where I was using all of my money to basically replace casualties that I was losing in my core force, so that I never really had a chance to build new units to try and respond to the crises at hand. So we'll go ahead and reduce this fort. We didn't destroy it in 3 turns. We failed that secondary objective. But we did destroy it. I think now, go ahead and bombard this guy. Use our Stuka against him. Bring our air units in here. Again, I'm just using my fighters to cover. Our infantry here. Alright, so we drove that guy back. And I think... engineers. They are engineers. So I'm going to see if I can use the engineers to sweep this minefield next turn, assuming they survive. And then we'll move the armor forward next turn. Okay. So, again, we're taking a much more measured approach, if you will. You can see the enemy lost 1 casualty last turn. They're suppressed somewhat. We're continuing to bombard them. It doesn't look like our odds are getting better here on this flank, so I'm just going to attack with the infantry that we have. Inflicted 2 casualties, lost 1. That's the exchange rate I want. Granted, they are outnumbered 2 to 1. Move our panzers forward. We're kind of crowding forward, but I think that about does it for this turn. We'll go ahead and move forward one more turn. You can still, we're gaining more money than we're losing it to this point. Poles are launching a counterattack against our engineers, which is a little bit concerning because these engineers don't fight so great. You can see they drove them back. They may bring one more infantry unit in here, attack, and destroy them. The engineers aren't very good in stand-up combat in open fields. So you can see they did no damage and they were killed. So they did their job in helping to reduce that one fort, but that's about it. I think what we do... Go ahead and... Hopefully we can destroy... these infantry here. Bombarded them both with artillery and... artillery and aircraft. Didn't destroy them. We did push them back. Strafe them a bit. I want to wait for an engineer unit to come up, so I guess I'm just going to sweep the minefield with my tanks. I hate losing those casualties to do it, but at the end of the day, it worked. And then we'll go ahead and attack the enemy artillery with our 1939 infantry here. So things quickly kind of turn into a bit of a slog here on this front. So we got 2-1 last battle, we got 2-1 this one as well, but the enemy's probably just going to keep pouring reinforcements in on this flank and replace any casualties that we inflict on them. I think I'm going to go ahead and use some of this money to purchase and deploy a Panzer Mark IV. Go ahead and put them on the left flank. We've got $90 left, which we're going to keep for... Actually, no, let's do this. Let's buy another Stuka. We've got that additional air power, so we'll go ahead and buy another Stuka with that. So we'll have additional tactical air here. Is that an enemy anti-tank gun? That's an anti-aircraft gun, okay. Enemy artillery's pulling out. Additional reinforcements. Again, I would prefer real units, not just sort of like, oh, you get these guys. Alright, so our armor should finish those guys off. They did. So that Polish infantry is destroyed. Okay. So Stuka continue to bombard them. BF-109 will stay in the general area in support. We'll bring the new Stuka down. You can see our BF-109 is starting to run low on fuel as well. Oh, I didn't mean to advance there. Now they're going to be... That's not what I meant to do. Alright. Let's hopefully we can destroy this enemy or damage this enemy anti-aircraft gun with no damage, and we did. Alright. So attacking, sort of trying to deal with two threats. Meanwhile, continuing to try and wear down these troops over here. Slowly doing so, we'll see if the Poles continue to use their money to reinforce the right flank. Ah, they cut off our infantry here in this little pocket. Let's see if they have any reserve... Oh, nope, they can't do anything about it. Alright, so Great Britain and France have declared war on Germany, honoring their pre-war arrangement with Poland, but so far the Western Allies remain mostly passive, giving only moral support to their Eastern ally. Alright. So they cut our infantry off, which we immediately get in there and... I don't know if liberate's the right word, but... relieve them, you know, uncut them off, if you will. This armor, we've got to go this way. No artillery this turn. We've got to get them out of the way so the armor can come across the bridge. Those bunkers can't really do anything, so we've definitely got these guys not liberated, but we've uncut them off, if you will. Meanwhile, one enemy anti-tank gun is sitting here, but this bunker is... we're just going to bypass it, frankly. We're going to go for the objective. We're going to go for the town. And, right flank, we'll pick our artillery again. It looks like they're getting worn down. We actually drove them out of the town. I'm going to go ahead and advance. We'll see if that's wise. We took this town. The enemy could counterattack with these engineers. But they've also got the 3 other soldiers over there. Our BF-109's almost out of fuel, so we'll go land him. Our Stuka will go finish off this enemy Bofors. I think. Yep. And our new Stuka will get to work reducing this enemy anti-tank gun in the objective town here of Milwaia. So that does that in for turn 7. Those infantry retreated. The engineers also retreated. So our path down the eastern flank is secure. 4 enemy bombers or fighter aircraft or something. They're strafing, so I'm guessing they're bombers. Just showed up. Some additional infantry racing up from the south. Our fighters are refueled, so we'll go ahead and take them back off. Artillery across the bridge. We just destroyed this enemy ground unit. It's like, what are these guys? Just regular Polish infantry, really? All right. Go ahead and bomb these guys. I don't know how good these infantry are, but they seem to have a really good perspective attack, I guess. That's not the right way to say it. Potential, I guess, might be the right way to say it. Alright, so we took the town. Our new armor's arriving. I'm hoping this anti-tank gun retreats and doesn't try and threaten our flank. We've got armor and artillery coming up, if necessary. Meanwhile, on the eastern flank, things went well. I think we just keep advancing. We'll kind of start driving down this roadway. I think there's multiple objectives or obstacles between us and the airfield. Enemy aircraft are continuing to strafe our infantry to no real effect. Enemy infantry swung over, so they're now counterattacking against the city here. These 10 infantry coming in. Oh, actually, no, they're not. They're attacking our infantry, which advanced south of the objective. Inflicting some casualties. Ah, they wiped them out. Jeez. Oh, no, did they? Yeah, they did. Wow. I don't know where these Polish soldiers became crack outfits. That seems crazy. Alright. Let's go ahead and see if our fighters can get in range. They can't, unfortunately. They're going to intercept our bombers. Alright, so some reinforcements this turn. Hopefully they could cut our armor off here. But we'll see. We've at least destroyed one of those 2 infantry units that were counterattacking. There's 5 enemy troops there, so maybe we can destroy them, just maybe. Nope. All we can do is damage them. Alright. I need to purchase some more infantry. Let's get some heavy infantry. They're relatively inexpensive. Go ahead and purchase them. Can't deploy them over there. They just take forever to get to the front. Can we buy anyone here? Nope. Gotta put them over here, I guess. Race them south. Alright, so we're 10 turns, well, about to be 10 turns in. The enemy's launching some counterattacks around the objective town. You can see this infantry's going in and trying to attack our troops there, who are in urban environments and giving as good as they're getting. I'm planning on destroying that other infantry unit next turn, and then presumably driving south. The enemy air unit withdrew, and enemy armor is launching a counterattack as well. Jeez. Guess it might be more of an armored car, I'm not sure. In any event, they're delaying us. Alright. Our armor's coming up. Our fighter aircraft is going to go, I think, deal with theirs. Hope. Looks like we just got ambushed. But we shot him down anyway. Bounce us and we'll just kill you anyway. Alright, that worked. Let's see, so that opens things up for our Stukas. That guy's getting low on fuel. Right, I need to... Alright, so our armor took some casualties, but drove them back. That allows me to use what's left of my infantry. Hopefully the enemy doesn't have enough forces to counterattack this infantry here and destroy it. Because we did just go ahead and eliminate that enemy unit on our flank. Moving these new reinforcements forward. Meanwhile, the enemy unit that retreated. Let's go ahead and hopefully finish these guys off. We did. Alright, they're destroyed. Now we can slowly advance down the east flank. I don't think we're going to capture the airfield, but should be able to win the battle. My more conservative approach. You can see they did decide to move their infantry forward, and they still attacked us. They are suppressed. This little icon means they're suppressed. And they got themselves killed doing it. Alright, free casualty inflicted. Meanwhile, their anti-tank guns dealt our armor a bit of a blow. And enemy cavalry. Okay, the Polish are coming in fiercely. Cavalry versus armor. I like our odds. That worked out. We're up to 9 kills. Go ahead and replace the casualties there, or replace our losses there. I think we'll use that Stuka. The other guy's almost out of fuel, so we'll have to fly him back. Our fighter aircraft just shot down the enemy, so they'll come strafe these guys. Also use reinforcements on that armored unit. Meanwhile, our infantry will try and get across this bridge and catch up. Alright, so we drove the cavalry back. They're probably going to pull out or retreat, I presume. Infantry advancing. We could use our artillery to try and rush Premzes, or however you pronounce it, but I don't use our armor there to do that. I just don't know if we've got enough strength to do it. But move our artillery forward. That'll about end that turn. So you got, looks like an anti-air gun. Yep, it is an anti-air gun there, shooting at us. Enemy cavalry's pulling out to the rear. Enemy bunkers, still a bit of a nuisance. And enemy anti-tank guns are almost destroyed. Alright, so we just destroyed that enemy there. Jeez. What did they shoot at? They shot at our fighters, didn't they? I'm fine if their anti-air wants to focus on our fighters. Really doesn't bother me one bit if that's their strategy. Alright. So that infantry unit's destroyed. Meanwhile, our fighters will go land. What do we still have left? On that flank. Alright, so I advanced my infantry, but I didn't advance them too rapidly. They didn't get surprised by that bunker. I picked that perfectly. Because I'm just that good. Now I can start reducing the bunker north of this town. Artillery should be in range in the next turn or two. We can really turn the pressure up on that town. We could even drive east to try and still take it in the next 7 turns after this. Seems unlikely that we'd manage, but you never know. Keeping a little bit of money in reserve. Enemy artillery. More enemy infantry. Another enemy aircraft. Alright, well. Neutrality. Following Italy's example, the United States and the Empire of Japan have decided to remain neutral in this new European conflict. Alright. This is probably the last turn in this particular fight that we're going to show, guys. Just an FYI. Okay. Where's our fighter? Here? Darn, I think we might actually get this fighter shot down. It's going to be 8 versus 4, and they have a flak gun. Unless they focus their flak on our bombers, which is possible. Alright, so we damaged this guy a bit. Go ahead and pull this infantry back, give him some reinforcements. Bring the artillery forward, and we'll reduce this bunker in the next couple of turns, hopefully. Already inflicted quite a few casualties on it. And then we can launch a double envelopment of this town in the next 5 turns, hopefully. Then we can swing west and take Cherno, or whatever this is called. Alright, meanwhile, this armor's moving down on the main objective. We'll see how that all pans out, but we'll go ahead and give it reinforcements. I don't think there's substantial Polish mobile units here that can threaten retaking the town. Maybe this anti-tank gun, but I don't think they can move more than 1 or 2 X's per turn. And we've got artillery and infantry nearby that could rapidly retake it if we had to. So we'll go ahead and end the turn, and then we'll end the battle. Or end the video. Alright, so that's actually a bomber aircraft, not a fighter. Good for us. Means we should be able to pull out that BF-109 here. Hoping. Meanwhile, their cavalry attacked us and died. Which I am more than happy to see them do. Anti-aircraft is shooting, just shot down our fighters. Damn it. I was hoping it would only do 3 damage, not destroy them. Our infantry, meanwhile, got some reinforcements and just cut off our armor there. But that's only a momentary inconvenience. Just swing the armor in here this way. Drive him back. And destroy him. There you go. Well, our other Stuka's gonna fly south. Alright. I said the last turn was my last turn, and yet I'm playing another turn. I'm a liar. I'm a filthy liar. Alright. Should have bombarded him, rather than just attacking with infantry. Alright. Trying to reduce this bunker so we've got a better line advancing that direction. I think our artillery can't be suppressed and attack the same turn. Alright, so 2 to 2. Still working on reducing that bunker. That may take longer than I'd like. Meanwhile, armor's moving south at a more cautious pace. I think there's an enemy dug in somewhere along this roadway, or at least I presume there is. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for episode 1 in our new Let's Play series, playing Order of Battle Blitzkrieg, with the intent to carry it over to Order of Battle Panzerkrieg if we survive that long. So far this battle's going better than the stream the other night, if you witnessed it, but it's still far from certain. We've got about 11 turns left to win the battle. We've got 6 more turns, really 5 more turns, to try and take the town of actually specifically the airfield. We'll see how things go. I remember them having a huge defensive force around this town. Yeah, let's take a look and see how it all goes. That will be in our next video, though, as we continue the invasion of Poland. Until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in once again. This is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.